T-Wolves survive in Dallas. They keep the season alive. 105-100. We're breaking it all down. It's coming up next on the Locked On Wolves POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up? What's up? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves POSTCAST episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Got the three-man rotation tonight. Main man Andrew Dukowitz back with us. Wolves and Lynx expert over at ZoneCoverageMN.com. He's on X at DukeMN. And of course, our go-to man, Sam Ekstrom, host of the Minnesota Basketball Party. Each and every Wednesday, he's on X at Sam Ekstrom. And fellas, before we jump into all the action from Game 4, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Okay, everybody knew what was at stake tonight, right? Lose and go home, season's over. Win, you force Game 5 back at home in the backyard at the Target Center. Just because there's so much to dive into, so much action to sift through, I'm not going to go through my normal quarter-by-quarter recap like I normally do. Instead, I'll just say this. The T-Wolves tonight, they survived despite losing the points off turnover battle. They lost the free throw battle in a big way. And man, oh man, did they scrape by on the skin of their teeth, really, with some serious foul trouble for pretty much the entire fourth quarter. In the end, though, it was Ant, it was Cat. They turn it on, flip the switch. Finally, they win that head-to-head battle versus Luka and Kyrie. Ant with 29 tonight, Towns with 25, and the Wolves hold on in crunch time for the first time all series. So plenty to dive into here, fellas. Andrew, we'll start with you at the top here. Biggest takeaways, kind of your A topics first and foremost to get us going.
I think my biggest takeaway is this is just the perfect game for Karl-Anthony Towns' career. I mean, fouled out, 5 fouls midway through the third, then comes in and hits a couple of the biggest shots in the game, back-to-back threes, then promptly fouls out. So I think that's one of my takeaways is it's just kind of the same old Cat. When he's good and when he's awesome, it's great. When he's fouling and struggling, it's real bad. I guess the other takeaway is just Anthony Edwards looked like he was back to his old self. I mean, not afraid to shoot the mid-range, doing stuff out of the post again, keeping the pressure on with drives. It was really encouraging to see him being aggressive.
Yeah, Sam, same question. Just to get going here, how do you describe that win? What transpired here tonight? What was different this time around that we didn't see in games 1, 2, and 3? What are the first couple things that come to mind?
Yeah, well, I put the word in the title. It's gutty. This was a gutty Timberwolves effort where, and again, guys, they've led in the same juncture of the game in all 4 games in this series. They've had a lead, 5 or less minutes to go, and tonight they held on. Tonight they made the shots when they needed to, but I thought that defensively, too, I thought the tone was set early. I thought that the first quarter, when they took that 12-point lead, I thought the defense was as stifling as we've seen in the series. This was not a good Kyrie game. I think the Wolves' defense deserves a lot of credit for that. I thought they rotated harder. I thought they closed out harder. I thought they defended the lob a little better in this game, not perfectly, but they finally made some adjustments. Dallas came back to earth. Keep the funeral suits in the closet gathering mothballs. It's not over yet because the Wolves are coming back home. They got one. You got to get one. It's like, who was it? Kevin Millar for the Red Sox. Don't let us get one. Don't let us get one. T-Wolves have a pulse, guys, and I thought that the late game, winning this game with some crunch time chops, that builds their confidence now going forward. Towns has more confidence. Edwards has more confidence. I think everybody can now breathe a little more easily that they've dodged the stigma of a sweep.
Yeah, we had the flag at quarter mass, almost ready to put it at half mass, but you're right. They survive. They live to see another game, game 5, absolutely. And I do want to talk about that crunch time stuff here in a second, but so much was made after games 1 and 2 big time, and then game 3 as well. The difference in the studs, right, between what Luka and Kyrie were doing, really to the Wolves defense specifically, compared to what Ant and Cat really haven't done offensively up to this point. You sit and watch every broadcast start to finish. It's one of the A topics every single night. So how huge was it, guys, to get those types of performances from Cat, from Ant, finally? And I guess to your point, Sam, what does it mean now for their momentum heading into game 5?
Yeah, 54-44 was the star comparison tonight. Wolves a +10 with Cat and Ant. And as solid as I thought Ant was, I thought Cat in the second half was really timely. He scored early in the half to kind of propel them to that winning third quarter. Again, they won the third quarter like they did last game. They were a +5 in the third. They were even in the fourth. But for Cat to play that well with 4 fouls in the third and then 5 fouls in the fourth, I thought was really, really magnificent. He was playing with a very settled mind, even though it was a very unsettling situation. But in particular, the 3-point shooting. Ant, I know, predicted him to score 8 threes today. He got half of that. One of them was blocked. So really the 4 threes he put up that reached the rim all went in. Couple timely ones in the fourth quarter, 9 of 13. I mean, this is the Karl-Anthony Towns experience. Just when you count him out, he reels you back in, and you love him to death for doing what he can do. Now, if we rattle off the 6 fouls that he committed in this game, they're all maddening. They're all deserved. That is ridiculous. But the offensive game, I'm not gonna scoff at that. That was a great Towns bounce back performance, and I'll let you speak a little bit more to Edwards, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Edwards was, like I said, back to his game 5, game 6 Utah self. He was working in the post, posting up anytime he had someone smaller on him. He was kind of doing that mid-range again, where he was just faking the 3, taking a couple steps in, hitting it in the mid-range. And those were 2 things that he just really wasn't doing the first 3 games of this series. I don't know if it, you could make the speculation that maybe that fall in game 6 hurt that hip or that tailbone a little more than he's letting on. You could say he was just not feeling it. Maybe it wasn't part of the game plan, but I mean, he's incredibly effective when he's trying to shoot mid-range, and it opens up his 3-pointer as well if people have to respect him under those Gobert screens. So, I mean, he just looked night and day better this game than he has in other games this series.
Such a breath of fresh air. The last thing I think we all wanted, obviously outside of just getting swept here in the Western Conference Finals, but was to go home with another kind of below average or even C- D+ games from Cat and have to sit on that all offseason. I know that's the last thing a lot of people wanted to see. So again, a breath of fresh air for sure from both those guys tonight. And we came on here, Andrew, me and you, after game 3, we talked about how scary it is to even think about what games 1, 2, and 3 were going to look like without some of the role guys tonight. Obviously, with Cat and Ant struggling, Jaden had 23 in game 1. Naz Reid had the flamethrower in game 2. Kind of a team effort, in game 3. Maybe not so much the bench game that we're used to tonight. I think total bench points only 14 from the Wolves. Still, though, kind of felt like a total team effort at times, didn't? I know Kyle Anderson deserves a little bit of love here along the way as well. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I called on the Ron Johnson show. Was that today? Yeah, that was today. I called for 20 to 24 Kyle Anderson minutes, and he gave us 25 tonight. And I know part of that is foul trouble, not only Gobert, but Towns in foul trouble. So it happened by a little bit by default. But 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He was point Kyle Anderson at times tonight, bringing the ball up the floor, making the right decisions. He is a stabilizer. And the slow-mo experience angers some. It's not aesthetically pleasing. He has shown that he's got the guts to play in the conference finals. So give me more slow-mo. I thought it was a pretty uneven Naz night, actually, except for the clutch layup at the end that sealed it. Nikhil with a couple threes. So while the bench didn't put up 14 points, they lost the bench battle. I thought their contributions, if you think about it, they really got a lot from Anderson and Alexander Walker, not as much from Nas, but needed it. And you get double figures from all 5 of your starters as well. It's a balanced scoring effort.
Andrew, how about the games within the games, right? Some of the team stats. I mean, the turnovers, the points off turnovers, especially in the first half, that was a huge topic. Again, we talked about a lot of fouls early. All big three were in foul trouble. Cat and Rudy. And then the free throws weren't dropping as well, which is just so frustrating to watch sometimes, especially in a game of this magnitude where you know it's probably going to come down to the last possession or two, especially on the road. But I guess which one of those, and it could be any team stat for that matter, not just the 3 I just flung out, but which one of those maybe worries you the most moving forward into Game 5, and which one is most correctable?
To me, it's the turnovers that worries me the most.
Yeah.
I mean, this team has been top 5 to top 8 team in turnovers, no matter what chunk of the season you look at. They do have a propensity to just throw the ball out of bounds like Edwards did. He did because Jaden stepped on the line, but they have this propensity to just make weird turnovers when they're not needed. And that is something that's carried them through the entire season and the postseason and this series. I don't really know how you fix it other than just having Kyle Anderson and Mike Conley play 48 minutes, but they've kind of lived and died by it so far to this season. I guess most easily to fix, you'd assume, is the free throws. Ant missed a few of them that normally he makes. I would expect going back to the target center in a Game 5 that will probably have the edge in free throw attempts again. I mean, those are things that this team's above 80% 3-point or free throw shooting team for the season. You'd like to think that at some point that's going to stay around 80 and less into the 70s.
Okay, plenty more deep dive from this Wolves Dallas Game 4. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Right now, obviously, playoff time in the NBA and NHL, not to mention you got baseball in full swing. That means FanDuel, it's your #1 place to be to bet on all the action. Check this out right now. New customers, you're getting $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets with any $5 winning bet. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on the app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a huge win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the NBA. So this really hasn't gotten brought up a ton. I'm curious if either of you have thought about how much Finch sitting in that second row behind the bench has kind of affected everything as far as like a comfort level, I guess. You know, I mean, I know we all say it. Mike O'Nori, he knows what he's doing, and he does. But just from like a comfort level, do you think it's thrown anything off to some degree or had any type of impact at all? When you think about, again, the magnitude of the situation we're in now, how important it is at this juncture, right, to have all your ducks in a row with the in-game adjustments, the timeouts, the challenges, talking to refs, all that stuff. Has it played any type of factor, do you think? Sam, I'll give you the first crack.
Yeah, a micro effect, okay. I think, but I don't think that at a high level it's had a great impact. I mean, and let's also try to be consistent with our takes. If it was good enough to go up 2-0 on Denver, if it was good enough to come back and beat Denver in a 7th game, I don't think we can just suddenly choose that as the scapegoat to say, it's not working anymore. Right. Like, I think that big picture, a lot of the game plan gets implemented between games. A lot of the adjustments get implemented during timeouts when Finch is running the huddle. I guess at worst, there might be a couple possessions here and there where an instruction might get shouted by Nori that Finch wouldn't shout, but they're so lockstep. I personally don't think it's had a tremendous impact on this series. We really can't know because we don't know what the calls are at all times. Now, certainly in which game was it, Andrew, where the drop coverage was being used when it wasn't supposed to be? That's very curious And I can't explain that. I can't explain why that would be happening, whether that's a player mishap, a coaching mishap. But I think that the things that go wrong are equally on Norrie and Finch, and the things that go right, I think you give them both credit. I don't think there's necessarily a huge hindrance to what the Wolves are trying to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I wish I could disagree with you for content purposes, but unfortunately, I just don't think at this level it matters. I think if it was like a high school game, not having the coach out there would. Like you said, with the drop coverage, I believe that was game 1. They seem to clean that up just fine. They seem to be in all the right coverages now. He's still feet away from the bench. And in this game, he's jumping out of his seat and wandering up to the huddle to make play calls anyways. So I think like emotionally, it might provide a lift to see him now getting up, but I don't think him sitting on the second row or not being able to walk the sidelines has affected it.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you both. Sam nailed it. If it was good enough for the Denver series, got to be good enough for now. Got to make those adjustments. Regardless, either way, good to see Finchy moving around a little bit and being a little bit more vocal tonight as well. I think of all the tweets in the stats and facts I read all day long about this Wolves team and kind of how this series has unfolded the way it has. The one about how the Wolves clutch rating has been near dead last in the league since they blew a lead versus this very Mavs team back in January. And since that same point, the Mavs have been the number 1 clutch team in the NBA. Tonight, we finally saw them kind of clamp down for the first time throughout these 4 games. Is that truly the secret sauce? If they're going to do the impossible here and actually come back, is stifle Luka and Kyrie and company when they get down to crunch time in those 3, 4, 5 minute range?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, they've had a lead at the 5-minute mark in all of the games. A couple of them have been 5 points even. When you have a lead at that stage in the game, it's on you to win the game. The other team, you have to miss shots and blow assignments to lose the game at that point. I mean, I think their clutch rating a lot has to do with, Anthony Edwards' age. I think it has a lot to do with maybe conflicting between, do we go through Karl? Do we go through Ant in this situation? I think if they are going to do the impossible, which, I mean, it has to be said, no team's ever done it. So if they are to do that, it is going to have to be cleaning up this clutch last 3 or 4 minutes and holding on to these leads that they're able to build.
Yeah, and they got the ball pretty well out of Luka and Kyrie's hands late in this game. Now Luka hits a ridiculous almost 4-point play that almost, gave me a heart attack. And he got fouled on a 3 moments before that. I think that was the Cat 6th foul. But if you look at the play-by-play last several minutes, a lot of PJ Washington shots. He's had the ice cold hand for a lot of the series. I mean, he's been shooting probably about 25, 30%. There was a Kyrie Irving bad pass. Like they did not allow at any point Kyrie to get into rhythm in this game. And Luka is going to get his, but I thought Luka was also a little more unsettled as well. There were a couple possessions early where McDaniels just had him in, as Kevin Harlan would say, the straitjacket. I would like to see, and the broadcast team brought this up, they're not really making Luka work too hard on defense. I think they could maybe hunt him a little more and force him to exert more effort on that end of the floor. I did notice late that he was kind of manning up against Ant at the top of the key. So clearly they trust Luka against Ant. They think he can, hang in that position, but they got to make Luka work hard on both ends, I think, in Game 5.
Sam, what would you rather have? The Wolves come back and win this series, or a personalized cameo video from Kevin Harlan to yourself?
Definitely the cameo. I mean, you can't do it. That's priceless, right? I can put a price on the Timberwolves coming back. I want Kevin Harlan saying, Sam, the sledgehammer, Ekstrom, throws it down. That's what I want to hear.
Absolutely. You and I kind of joke about our broadcasting power rankings. Kevin Harlan, number one for me with a bullet. Absolutely love the guy. Back to the clutch stuff, though. And I think, Andrew, I asked you this, so I'll point this back at you, Sam. How much of this clutch stuff, the clutch factor, has to do with Kyrie and Luka already being in big spots before in their career? Kyrie's been here. He's done this. He's got a ring. And this entire Wolves roster, really, at its core, very young still, being in the Western Conference playoffs on such a big stage now for the first time ever. How much does that just have to do, the nerves and things like that, when it gets down to those last 3, 4, 5 minutes in these games?
Yeah, I mean, Luka has been here once, right? And he had to learn his lessons the hard way. He took his lumps, I believe, against the Warriors, and he sort of graduated now, and he's ready to master this level. The Kyrie has hit a game-winning 3 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, so clearly he's not fazed by any of this. The Timberwolves, all right, Random Planet, all right, all right. Calm down. Those on YouTube know I won't even read it. The Timberwolves haven't graduated yet. I mean, they
Right.
kind of, and this is part of the reason why I think they didn't show up in Game 1 of this series. And Finch was like, "Did these guys know the series started?" It's because they kind of won their Super Bowl. They won the Game 7. They won a round that they had never, won before. They
won their Minneapolis Miracle, then they had to go to Philly on the road.
Exactly,
that's what it felt like.
Exactly. I felt that way the whole series. So to see the punch back does give me a lot of faith that okay, there is some grit to this team. This team is not going to go quietly. And if they can get Game 5, then all bets are off. I mean, then suddenly it's 2 games to advance, and I think it becomes a lot more possible. But this is now the key, tipping point to really put the pressure on Dallas.
Here's got to be an A topic we got to touch on here. The Wolves finally win one without Lively. So I don't know any updates or status. It sounds like maybe he'll be ready to go for Game 5. And we'll get into a full game preview here in segment 3 here in a couple minutes. But just real quick, just to tease it here, how much of an impact did that have on tonight? And then how much, I guess, does it worry you if that guy comes back and all of a sudden they got to face that same squad and lineup that they struggled with so mightily at times in games 1, 2, and 3. Andrew, I'll give you the first crack here.
I oddly didn't think that Derek Lively was really missed that much. Maybe it's because I don't watch 82 Mavs games a year, but it seemed like Maxi Kleber was able to step in and provide a little bit more spacing. And then Gafford kind of just took over that rim protection, swatting shots role. I think Kleber also gives them like a lot more spacing, and Gobert leaking, being forced to cover Kleber at sometimes. I think they probably missed him more than they should have, considering it's Kyrie and Luka. Lively obviously gives them another big rim runner or someone to sub in if PJ Washington isn't hitting his shots. But I really think they got pretty much the same thing out of Gafford and Kleber. I don't know. What did you see, Sam?
I mean, he was a +2 in the game, which for the Mavs was one of their best, only behind Derrick Jones Jr. The Wolves kind of took it to them on the glass early in the game. I think they maxed out at +8 rebounding, and then the Mavs climbed back. Gafford was so active in this game and very good. Wolves ended up out-rebounding him by 2. But being able to go from Gafford to Lively to Gafford, I mean, it does kind of put the pressure on you for 48 minutes. And we saw the lob number seem to decrease in this game. I know they had a couple. Luka had that magnificent one in transition that wasn't really a half-court setup. I think that having Lively on the court, he keeps that threat, whereas Kleber maybe not quite the same athleticism. But I think it had a small impact on this game. And to me, it sounded like he's playing in Game 5. I don't know the full extent of the neck sprain, but they're insisting that it's not a concussion, that he's feeling pretty good. So I guess I'd be surprised if he didn't play. And then the Wolves have to deal with that. But that is a good point, Luke, that, I mean, they were missing a super key piece, a rookie, by the way, who I think they showed tonight had one of the best playoff plus minuses in NBA history.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. All right, we got a couple minutes left here. We'll continue to preview Game 5 for Thursday night. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's show is also brought to us by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what also keeps your ride or die alive. And at eBay Motors, they got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to the ultimate peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, LED headlights, eBay Motors, they have it all. And whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. Check this out. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Okay, I ask this after every game. Trust me, it's a lot funner and more entertaining to ask this after a win instead of a loss. What's the one thing you'll always remember from Game 4 when the dust settles and we look back on this one? I know it's still fresh, but Andrew, let's start with you.
For me, it'll probably be how thankful I am that Naz Reid made that layup before Luka got the 3+1. Yeah. Sam mentioned it before we started recording, and that's it for me of just, this could have been really ugly if Naz missed that layup.
Yeah, I think my mind goes to the Towns threes, and I just feel like it's kind of relieved for him because it's not fun and I know he's paid millions and millions of dollars. It still is probably not fun to have personal attacks thrown at you on national TV and on social media. Like I felt relieved for him. Now I think he's got a lot of work to do to kind of build, to work his way out of this hole. But that was a big bounce back game. Also, how fun was the Ant bucket to go up 100-92, where he did like one of those triple pivots where he kind of goes like back pivot, side pivot, forward pivot, and he beat the shot clock buzzer.
It looked like Ron Johnson at Lifetime, at the Eden Prairie Lifetime. Same thing.
Oh man, we don't need to pump Ron Johnson's ego anymore. No, he's a baller. That was a great shot, and there were a couple moments tonight where I said, "Oh, we got it in the bag," and then Luka would go down and do something absurd and make me feel uncomfortable all over again. But man, the clutch shot making was pretty fun tonight. Finally, to see some of those go in.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah.
I'm going to throw one more in there. The TNT crew that had Ant mic'd up and him barking in that dog pile for the
the bark was phenomenal.
That's probably going to stay rent-free in my head for the rest of my life.
You know what's funny is because they showed about 3 clips before that bark, that whole bark scene, and I was like, that's the best they got? That's the best audio clips we got? It was very lackadaisical, pretty boring, and then they went to the bark clip, and it made up for everything before that. It was absolutely phenomenal.
How about an Ant clip from post game? This is courtesy of our guy Reggie Wilson on Twitter. Quote, "We'll be back for Game 6."
Uh-oh.
Sounds like a guarantee.
It sounds like the same guarantee he told the Denver locker room as well before he left for Game 6 there as well. All right, Game 5 obviously on deck now. We've kind of teased it a little bit. Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. What are you guys looking for? I don't know, as far as the Wolves maybe continuing to adjust a little bit more, or what are the headlines, the kind of bullet points here, especially, again, knowing we already touched on it, Derek Lively may be back for that one. Andrew?
I don't know if they stumbled into it, but they had a lineup out there with Kyle, Jaden, and Ant.
Yeah.
And it allowed Ant to kind of play off ball, and Jaden took Kyrie, and they had a ton of success with that throughout the game. I'm looking and hoping that they go back to that lineup quite a bit more. And it's not just because Cat was in foul trouble, because it just allows Ant to get a break on defense if he's not chasing Luka or Kyrie around. And then also, Kyle Anderson plays Luka really well. I don't know if it's because they both run at the same slow pace, but Kyle does a phenomenal job on him.
Yeah, I'm watching the first 6 minutes closely. Don't let Dallas have the fast start that they really haven't had in the series yet. Dallas has been somewhat lethargic coming out of the gate in a lot of these games, and I feel like they're due to really play well early. I could see Kyrie after an off night asserting himself early like he did in game 1. Don't let that happen. Try to, again, the Wolves had the benefit of playing with a double-digit lead. Now, I know it was early, but when you build that lead early and Dallas goes on their run, okay, you're back to even instead of being down 10. So that really does help when you can play with the lead once in a while. And you got to watch out for Dallas having a fast start, I think, in game 5. You might be too supercharged. Cat might have 3 offensive fouls in the first quarter. You got to play within yourself and don't let Dallas get out in front.
All right, final parting thoughts before we get out of here. We got about 60 seconds left. I'll give you 30 seconds each. Andrew, you got the first crack. Empty the clip, so to speak. Anything we missed, anything we didn't hit on, maybe final thoughts on this game 4 or final thoughts on previewing game 5 coming up Thursday night.
I'm gonna take it a different way. Lynx are playing tomorrow. Try and get some more coverage for them. They're 4-1. Hosting the Las Vegas Aces. I'll be there in the press area. Come by and say hello if anybody's there. I'm friendly. But yeah, Lynx are off to a great start. Just want to get them a shout out here too, because they're playing phenomenal basketball right now.
I do want to emphasize at one point the Mavericks had 30 points on 14 Wolves turnovers.
Wow.
Wow. How? I mean, I know
won?
The math does technically work there. So did they shoot 100%? Because that's over 2 points per possession off of turnovers. That's insanity. So I'd like to, I kind of want to check the play-by-play and see how that actually, like what their shooting percentage was on those possessions. And also someone was giving me crap for saying that Ant's fouls weren't deserved. Help me out on this.
I think Cat's fouls, right?
Cat's fouls. Yep. Thank you. He elbowed a guy in the head. He had a charge right down the lane that was clear as day. Had another one in the first quarter. He reached on a guy at midcourt. Maybe the 6th one on Luka.
Maybe.
You could say that Luka leaned in, but I think he's just got to be a little more controlled. Like those fouls at half court. I know that it's early in the game. They're not in the bonus, but you need to preserve your fouls, Cat. Like, you got to play a little smarter than that. I knew the second it happened that was going to be important later, and it was.
Well, it's only his 8th year, though, Sam. He'll figure it out. 9th
Is
year.
It his ninth year?
Is it 9th?
It's 9, I think.
9?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. All right. We better get out of here. T-Wolves, they take care of business. 105-100. Keep the season alive in Game 4 in Dallas. Day off tomorrow. Got to ice up. Get ready for Game 5 Thursday. And again, tip-off for that one, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. As always, huge shout-out to all you guys that joined us on the stream. Rest assured, we'll be back each and every game as long as they keep playing. Same time, same place right here to break it all down. Quick reminder, go check out all of Andrew's work on X at @ADukeMN. Pumping out great zone coverage, mn.com, Wolves coverage, Lynx coverage. Got to make sure you check out Sam and the entire crew, really, on the Minnesota Basketball Party each and every Wednesday with our guy Jack Borman. Plus, he's on X at Sam Ekstrom. Ben Beacon, always killing it. Every day, ripping it up over on the Locked On Wolves podcast each and every day as well. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. We'll see you for Game 5, but until then, signing out.